Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World. We're just going to cover a brief breakdown of what occurred with the Luigi Mangione hearing that concluded today. For the last 3 weeks, I've been attending this hearing in the main courtroom. Unlike Sean Diddy Combs' trial, there's only one courtroom. There's no overflow. So when it's time for trial, you have to keep that in mind. For the hearing, they only allow 24 people to get into the courtroom at a time from the public. So you have to prepare for that, especially it's extremely cold out there. Remember from the first day, I showed you guys pretty much the people outside. We had a lot of people. In fact, some people were paid $300 a day to go out and sort of give some sort of demonstration in regards to Luigi Mangione. But I just want to give you a few key points, just in my opinion. But this was a suppression hearing where they presented a lot of facts, witnesses to try to suppress some of the items that were obtained from Luigi Mangione in Altoona, Pennsylvania, when he was arrested. They took a gun, a suppressor, a journal, which the prosecutor kept trying to call it a manifesto. Also, the prosecutor kept trying to say that Luigi executed Brian Thompson on the streets of New York of December, I believe, the 4th of 2024, about a year ago. 5 days later, Luigi Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania on the 9th of December. Now, the points of contention is that the officers did not follow the rules, as they would say. Number one, they did not acquire a warrant in order to go through his book bag where they found these items. They waited over 20 minutes to Mirandize him, so that's a big point of contention. We spent a lot of time because what happened in this case, from what I gather, and I'm just giving you my opinion, when the call came in from McDonald's saying that, hey, we have a guy here that fits the description of the New York shooter, the dispatcher reached out to this officer who had an officer in training with him. The primary officer, his name was Detweiler, and the secondary officer was Fry. Fry was in training for, I think they said, basically learning the tricks of the trade when it comes to highway patrolling, right? Now, he had only been an officer, the second officer. He's only been an officer at that time for a year. 6 months of that, he was in Indiana for the training that they give officers. So when the call came in, they did not think it would be the New York shooter because this little small town in Altoona, Pennsylvania, typically has about 40,000 to 50,000 people, right? So they didn't think that there was any way possible for it to be the New York shooter. So he was rather sarcastic. That's Detweiler as they approach heading toward McDonald's to take this call. En route, he spoke to the lieutenant, and the lieutenant actually told him basically, listen, if this is the New York shooter, I'm going to treat you to a hoagie. It came out in court that he likes the turkey hoagie. So they went to the McDonald's, and as they approached McDonald's, if you've seen the video, you notice there's no sound. And that's because the actual body cam video that you see walking into McDonald's is actually the body cam video of Officer Fry. And oh, we have Calvin Johnson. Oh my goodness, what a blessing we have here today. My God, look at here. So, man, Calvin came on at the last minute, bro. You're my hero now. You know what I mean?
I got you covered, big dog.
Thank you, man. So listen, I was about to tell the story, but hey, you're here now, so we can get to the nitty gritty of it. So I just want to give you a little quick brief, and they concluded Luigi Mangione's hearing today. The judge pretty much gave um, I think the prosecutor has, no, the defense has until January the 29th to present some information. And then the prosecutors have until March the 5th to respond, and the judge says that he would make his decision by May the 18th. Is that typical?
Sometimes it's like that because what they want to do sometimes is go and research all of the case law that's typically provided. Like in this situation, if they're trying to have a motion to suppress to keep those statements out, what will happen is you'll do this thing what we used to call is shepherdizing, which means you're basically going into the history of the law and in what other situations that are like this situation where they kick the evidence out, which means a motion to suppress is a motion to try to keep certain evidence out. And what they're probably going to try to say is that he felt like he was being detained, even though he wasn't detained. He still felt like he was being detained. And under those circumstances, certain information, certain kinds of evidence that the officers got before they actually read him his Miranda rights, which means they did not read him his rights before questioning him. And all of the stuff that they got before they read him his rights should be thrown out. And typically, what's going to happen on the prosecution side, they're going to show situations that are similar to this to say, hey, this information should be included. The defense is going to say, no, 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 no. We filed a motion to suppress. There are other situations out here like this. This is a violation of his constitutional rights. And based on that violation, any information gained in that encounter before they read him his Miranda rights should be thrown out. And that's typically what happens. And so what happens is the judge sometimes can request additional information from the defense as well as additional information from the state. And when they get that different information or additional information, they're going to make their ruling on whether they're going to kick this stuff out or keep it in.
Okay, now in regards to what's in court right now, it's something called a certificate to something that the defense has to provide for the prosecution. I'm not sure. Certificate of something.
Certificate of service, which means
Yeah,
that
there you go.
they would have to serve the prosecution with a motion. Like if I want that evidence to be not included, I have to draft up a motion. I file it at the court, but I also serve it on the district attorney's office, which means I served my motion on you, letting you know that I felt like there was a violation of my client's constitutional rights, and I told you why. And I actually delivered that. I served you that motion. So they have to provide a certificate of service.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about Luigi. This is just my opinion, but I noticed that in court, sometimes when they're putting the cuffs on him at the end of the day, he kind of jumps. Today, when his attorneys came to talk to him and let him know, listen, we're going to have a proceeding. Evidently, he won't be available, so they're going to come and represent him. He immediately jumped to the side like this. So he's like very reactive, and sometimes he seems a little bit spaced out. Do you think it's possible he would be a candidate for a plea of insanity?
I think that's going to be hard for him.
Oh,
And
okay.
when it comes to insanity, I'm going to tell you why. To plan out doing what he did, how he did it, takes a lot of cunning. It takes a lot of planning. You basically stalk somebody down. It's going to be very difficult to claim insanity with the amount of planning that went on and went into particularly creating this crime and actually committing this crime. It's going to be very difficult for him to do. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be very difficult because it took a lot of planning for him to be able to do this.
So the fact that the officers made a lot of mistakes and the defense did a great job in showing that basically they turned this into a fanfare. They all wanted to be basically in the picture for the biggest arrest probably ever seen in this Altoona town. Do you think that this sets the stage for a suppression?
I think it does. Some of it can, because you have to read the person their rights. And the way that they walked up on them, the officers are probably not even thinking about Miranda. They're not even thinking about all this other stuff because of the horrificness of the crime. They probably just want to make sure that if this is the person, that this person doesn't get away. There potentially be a situation where the statements that were made before they read him his rights could actually get kicked out. I still think they have enough other evidence to show if they try to prove that he particularly did this. But as a defense attorney, you don't worry about that. You try to keep everything out that you can, so that when you have to make a decision, or a jury have to make a decision, that you're trying to limit what they hear and what they see. For example, if they grant this motion to suppress, then the prosecution cannot put out to a jury all of that information gained in that interaction between him and the officers before they read his Miranda rights.
Okay, what about the fact that when they arrived and they walked up on Luigi, he's sitting in the corner. There's a table in front of him, and they basically have him cornered in so he can't leave. Did we lose you? Okay, so we may have lost you. Let's see.
You got me, yes.
Okay, yeah. So were you able to hear that question?
No, answer that again. Ask it again.
Okay, so he's sitting in the corner. There's a table in front of him. The officers have surrounded him, and within minutes, there's 10 officers, 13 officers. They're trying to say, well, we didn't have him, arrested or what have you, but they had guns. They had officers. They had their suits on. So what do you think about that?
You're going to feel like you're not free to leave. The average reasonable person would surrounded in a restaurant that's small with 10, 11, 12, 13 officers around him. They're going to feel like they're being detained. They're going to feel like they're even under arrest. They're not going to feel like they have the option to leave. And so what's going to happen is the defense attorney, and rightly so, they're going to claim that his Miranda rights should have been read, because at that time he was being detained. Because if a normal, reasonable person is sitting in the room, if I'm sitting in this room and I'm looking out and there's 10, 12, 13 officers surrounding me, I don't feel like I have the right to just get up and leave and they're not going to do anything. I feel like I'm being detained. So with that being said, that's where I think the defense has a strong argument to keep some of the stuff out. They want to be able to keep everything, but the majority of the stuff that was gained before they read him his Miranda rights, I think there's a strong chance that those things could get thrown out. Now, that doesn't clear the case up completely, because I still feel like they'll still be able to get to where they want to be.
Okay, so earlier on, the main officer that approached Luigi says, listen, I don't want to talk, basically. He's exercising his rights, okay? But then later on, another officer came and started asking him questions like, why did you give us a fake ID? And then another officer says, I think you need to Mirandize him. So then that officer does Mirandize him. But when he says again, oh, I don't want to, speak or get an attorney or whatever, that officer Fox was upset. You could kind of sense it. And then he's like, okay, let's throw the cuffs on him. What does that say?
What that says is that you're trying to coerce him into talking to you, because you're using the threat of arrest to make him talk, and he has a constitutional right not to talk. And so that's why those officers needed to be a lot more careful in doing what they're doing, because you're creating a consequence for him not talking. And you're continuing to talk to him after he told you he does not want to speak to you about the case and answer your questions. And so those are the reasons why they tell these officers to Mirandize people, so that you don't have these struggles trying to prove cases when you get great information on the initial arrest that you're not able to use because you did not read them their rights.
Okay, so here's another matter. Two more questions. There's a other issue with the main officer. He keeps cutting off his audio. What could that mean? In fact, there's a female officer. Her name is Wasser. She comes over to say something to him, and she looks down. And Karen Agnifilo, she did a great job on the cross-examination. She was like, well, she saw, is there a light that comes on your camera that lets people know? She was like, so that's the reason why she stopped talking. But here's the kicker. when she stopped talking, he cuts off his camera. So 3 times he did that. Is that a big influence here?
It's a huge influence. I'm not going to want any of that in evidence in terms of being used against me. But more importantly, I'm going to use that to say that these officers were, with their behavior, were going be above and beyond to violate his constitutional rights. You got them surrounding the defendant. In addition to that, you got them continuing to question him, even though he has said he wants counsel. And then when he wants counsel, you're trying to punish him. I'm going to try to get that entire interaction inside that restaurant thrown out.
Okay, so here's the other question I have for you. What does this mean if the judge suppresses these items for this overall case? There's 3 cases, by the way.
They won't be able to use everything that they found inside the restaurant. They won't be able to use the stuff they found inside of his bag. They won't be able to use all the stuff that happened in his interrogation. They can try to make arguments that they would have found it anyway, but I don't think they will. So what they will try to do probably is use all of the other information to show that he particularly did this, which means everything with the surveillance before the cops showed up. I know there were a lot of there were a lot of flock cameras. There were a lot of cameras that caught his face or caught him in action doing certain things. They would have to use that to prove their case, as opposed to using all that great evidence that they found inside the restaurant when they cornered him.
Now, here's my final question. Let's say this judge, he's in the state court, he suppresses these items. What effect does that have on the federal case where his life is on the line?
It does have an effect, because what they're going to say is one court has already ruled that a certain evidence is inadmissible, and it's going to be a huge win for the defense. Now, the federal government can have the same kind of hearing and come to a different conclusion, but it's a very strong hearing to say this is another judge has already looked at that and they've kicked that part of it out. So that's that's kind of the effect that it's going to have here.
All right, Calvin, I know you were in court, man. You took this call. I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you for coming on. And we look forward to Sunday having you on at 8 o'clock when we can really unpack this. Would you leave the audience with some words?
Hey, listen, watch every single thing. Continue to watch the weekly legal review. We're going to start coming to you 2 or 3 times a week, not just on Sundays. We are the place to get information on all the hot trials, all the hot hearings, all the important stuff. Mel and attorney Calvin D. Johnson with the weekly legal review. Go ahead and subscribe to Watching the World 777 on YouTube, and we're going to continue to bring you the real. Thank you.
Thank you.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world, sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world, sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.